What's going on, everyone? Jamarr Chase of the Cincinnati Bengals had quite the introduction to the NFL last year. He averaged 18 yards per reception on 81 receptions for 1,455 yards and 13 touchdowns. And him and Joe Burrow led his team to a Super Bowl. Now, this is from a guy that many people thought was going to be just an average, right? Average receiver. He's 6 feet, 201 pounds. They thought he might get pushed around a little undersized. He was at LSU. He was a great receiver at LSU, won a national title, all of that stuff. He even told himself a story of how his coach told him he would never be a receiver in the NFL, and look what happened. I mean, again, historic numbers. So he's a guy that's always had a chip on his shoulder. He's a guy that's always tried to prove, I am that dude. And he was one of, if not the best receivers in the NFL last year. Him and Joe Burrow were quite the 1-2 punch. And it just really showed that he has the capability of being this star receiver in this league. But there was this report from Madden NFL 23 on the top 10 wide receivers. And as you'll see on this list, Jamarr Chase isn't on it. You have Devontae Adams, Cooper Kupp, Tyreek Hill, DeAndre Hopkins, Stephon Diggs, Justin Jefferson, Mike Evans, Terry McLaurin, Keenan Allen, and Amari Cooper, right? But you have no Jamarr Chase on this list. And so Jamarr Chase followed up with, I'm going to keep working, extra motivation. So once again, you have Jamarr Chase with the chip on his shoulder. And I do expect him to come out this year and just be that same guy again, that dominant force on the receiving end. And I understand. I get that there are, you have to prove yourself more than a year. I mean, we've seen receivers, running backs, quarterbacks have historic years, have great years, and then just are completely terrible the rest of their career. So, you can't base it off of 1 year, but there's a lot of buzz going around like, was he snubbed? Is he a guy that deserved to be in the top 10 of wide receivers? And last year, he should have been, right? I mean, based on his numbers last year, he was easily top 10. You can make an argument, he was one of the top 3, top 5 best receivers in the league last year. But again, I think a lot of this has to go into history. Like, what have you done over a course of several years, not just 1 year, And I wish we would have known where he was slotted at on that list of receivers outside of the top 10. Like, was he 11th? Was he 23rd? Because that's a big difference in and of itself as well. But I do think Jamarr Chase has the top 10 potential. I think, if he has another year like this, I don't think you can rule him out as not one of the top receivers. But I do understand the idea and thinking of he had one great year. You have all these other receivers that have proven that they are capable of doing the same thing over, several years, as opposed to this rookie coming in and just lighten it up, because we've seen it. Teams don't have as much tape, and the defensive schemes aren't as high on them as they would be, if they were putting up these numbers year in and year out. So next season, or this season, will be a really telling season for Jamarr Chase, because we will see if he still is that dude now that defenses are really trying to hone in on him. And I'm not saying defenses didn't this past season, especially in the playoffs, stuff like that. But once you start getting a feel, once you figure guys out, we've seen guys have historic runs, just like all sports. You have that guy that just is seems like he's taken over the league, but there's not a lot of tape on him. There's not a lot of details. What is his favorite, what's his favorite route? What is the best position that he likes to catch at? What shoulder is he looking over? All of this stuff, all the little details, little nuances for whoever's defending him is needs to be known, and you study it and you learn it, and it becomes that mental habit in many ways, and and you figure it out. But I don't think Jamarr Chase is gonna fall off a cliff all of a sudden. He is too talented, too skilled. His route running is incredible. He has great hands. He is a bit undersized, but nonetheless, he had a historic year. But I do understand personally why they decided to leave him off the top 10. Because, if you look at that list, everybody on that list you can make an argument for the top 10. And you can make the same argument for Jamarr Chase. But the only difference that I see between everyone on that list and Jamarr Chase is the longevity, the year after year of doing the same, if not similar things. Where Jamarr Chase, he had one great year. What are you going to do for me next year? So I do think he's a guy that if he puts up these numbers again, you have to include him in the top 10. You have to put him up there amongst the greats because, I mean, he put up a ridiculous stat line night in and night out. Him and Joe Burrow just completely took over the league. I mean, every game, it was like, oh, the Bengals, the underdogs, this, that, and the other. Today's the day that they get blown out. Today's the day that they find out reality, all that stuff. And they had a chance to win a Super Bowl. They were there. It wasn't like they got blown out in the Super Bowl. They were blowing teams out all playoffs, got to the Super Bowl. They were winning. They were winning late. And then they ended up, losing the game. And then the Rams win the Super Bowl. And it's like, okay, but I wouldn't be surprised if this Bengals team is back in the Super Bowl next year. I think that they have the talent. That 1-2 punch of Joe Burrow and Jamarr Chase is incredible. If they can keep that connection, I mean, they're gonna have that. They're gonna have that for the next 10 years. You know what I mean? Like, and if Jamarr Chase can keep being that go-to guy, that guy that's getting you, 14 to 1,500 yards a season, come on, how can you not? And a lot goes into the quarterback too. We've seen guys that have had terrible quarterbacks. They go to a good team and they're putting up incredible stats. So Joe Burrow. Jamarr Chase is his blanket, right? He's his trusty ally. He's the one that he always is looking for. So him being the number one guy on the team, he's going to have great stats. But it wasn't just that. You know what I mean? Like Jamarr Chase, his from point of catch to receiving yards were insane. Like I said, he averaged 18 a reception. That just doesn't happen unless you're skilled, unless you're quick, unless you're fast, unless you have good movement. Like, this duo is going to be a threat in this league for years and years to come. And I'm far from a Cincinnati Bengal fan, but reality is reality. Joe Burrow showed he could be that guy. He could be that franchise leading quarterback, a Super Bowl winning quarterback, a guy that can get the job done. And he's got his number one receiver in Jamarr Chase. And Jamarr Chase showed he can be that guy. He can be that dude. He can be the receiver to make the big plays, to win the big games. I mean, he was doing it in college. He's done it his whole life. He's done it his whole career. Even through all that, adversity, all the people telling him, like, you're never going to be a receiver in this league. You need to figure out another position, stuff like that. Like, he's proven, hey, you guys were wrong. Like, look at me. Look at what I'm able to do. Look what me and this guy over here, my quarterback, what we were able to achieve in our first year together. Like, imagine what we're going to do 5 years from now, 10 years from now. I wouldn't be surprised if the Cincinnati Bengals win a Super Bowl with the team that they have. I still think that there are better teams than them, but we saw last year. I mean, all it takes is, one bad play, one bad missed assignment, something like that, and boom, it's over. That's just the NFL we live in today, right? You get one blow by it, all of a sudden you got an 80-yard touchdown, the game's over. It's a coin flip league, literally, right? Like, so much so that they're trying to change that because it's just we've seen how the NFL is, and any given Sunday is a real thing. And so, I mean, the Cincinnati Bengals proved that. They were the underdogs the entire playoffs and just kept dominating. I mean, they weren't just like, oh, we're squeezing out of the hair of our chinny chin chins. No, they were there. They were as good, if not better, during those games. And to be fair, in the NFL, it's only one game, right? You don't have to be the best team. You just have to be the best team that day, right? So, the Chiefs, most people would take the Chiefs 10 out of 10 times over the Cincinnati Bengals, but you don't have to be better than the Chiefs. I just have to be better than the Chiefs today. We're facing them. All I got to do is beat them today. I just think that the Cincinnati Bengals, they are that team that is good enough to where you might be better than me, but all I need to do is beat you today. And Jamarr Chase is the guy that's leading that front on the offensive end. Joe Burrow is the guy. He is the face of the franchise. He is their quarterback. He is their, superstar, all of that stuff. But Jamarr Chase ain't no number two. He ain't no, he's a 1A to a 1B. They're there. This is their core. These are the two guys that they're going to have for the long haul. They're buddies, they're friends. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they bought a house next to each other, all that stuff. Like, that chemistry, that brotherhood, that camaraderie is something that is special. That is something that is rare. And that is how you lead to success. And I really believe that the Cincinnati Bengals are going to continue to have success. And I think we're going to continue to see them be great. But As always, I pass the question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. What did you think about this? Do you think that Jamarr Chase was snubbed? Do you think no, no, it's fair. He only did this 1 year. Go show me it for 2, 3, 4 years. We need that longevity because we've seen a lot of players in all sports, basketball, baseball, football, all have like major success for a year, and all of a sudden they're average or they're subpar or whatever. We've seen quarterbacks have incredible seasons, and then it turns up they're just a backup. Look at like Cam Newton. Like, he led a team to a Super Bowl. He was a superstar. All this stuff. Now he can't even get a job. It's a dog eat dog league for sure. And so it's stuff that I always find interesting when I see these reports, because it's also hard. And a lot of it goes into personal bias and stuff like that. Because if you're just looking at stats, Chase is in the top 10. You got to put him in the top 10. But I personally understand, let's see it over the course of several years, not just one great year. So I'm not completely against Jamarr Chase being left off the top 10. I do think it's interesting, though. But again, would love to hear your thoughts and opinions, however you feel about it, down in the comment section below. That being said, hit that like button. Helps me out a lot. Lets me know you enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button, followed by the bell notification. Stay up to date with all things sports. Join this wonderful community and all of our discussions. I'll see you all in the next one. Thank you.